Today we review a cold, and I mean cold, BFL Great Lakes Division opener on LaCrosse, Wisconsin. Sit back, relax, and get ready for the bone-chilling details here on this episode of Anglers Corner. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Fergamoose Studios for this episode of Anglers Corner, brought to you by Olds Home Theater. I'm Russell Olson. Today on the show, I'm going to review the Great Lakes Division BFL opener on LaCrosse, Wisconsin. As I mentioned at the top of the show, it was a cold day. When I was looking at the weather for the day, when we launched at 6:30, the weather is going to be around 35 degrees. So that was a little cool. I was bundled up. We took off. We actually locked down to pool 9, and oh man, was that a cold ride. Oh man, I about froze, and we had to stop to wait on the lock for a little bit and barely feel my hands. We got through the lock fairly quickly to get down. And again, we ran some more. I swear we had to run a good ways, at least to the southern half of pool 9. And again, that was a cold run. I even had my hook gloves on. I think next time I'm going to bring a pair of heavy gloves to wear while we're running. So hopefully it won't take me a half an hour to get the feeling back in my hands. So I started with that place. LaCrosse, I feel like, is kind of bass backwards. Anyway, because on a day like that, it was super cold. Now, bear in mind, though, and I got thinking about this, it was pretty consistently, cold throughout the week. So, there was some consistency there. But I was prepared for a fishing just super slow. Jigs, Ned rig, Senko, finesse worm. I figured the bite would be so tough, and it was tough. it was super tough. I The only thing I don't think I got out my wacky rig Senko. I was using jigs, creature baits, crawl bugs. Had a about mid morning. I had a bite. Ned rig. It turns out is a pretty good sized pike. I call those pike photon torpedoes. Because they look like you think of a torpedo when you look at the things. But I thought that was the first time I'd ever caught anything on Ned rig, so that was pretty interesting. It never helps when if it wasn't a tournament, it'd be a fun little bonus fish, but not what you're looking for when you're fishing a tournament, especially a BFL, or any other pro tournament. We fish a lot of wood. Fish wood pretty much all day long. We fished a few rocks while we're waiting on the lock when we had to stop there, first thing in the morning for a little bit. Nothing doing, nobody, and there was guys fishing, close enough to see. Nobody was doing anything at that point. So like I said, fishing a lot of wood. I got a bite. I couldn't tell what it was. It just tick tick tick. Hardly had time to react to set the hook. Fish went under the boat. I seen the body. Might have been a pike. I'm not sure. And that's my story, and I'm going to stick to it. But I lost him, unfortunately. That I might have missed a little bit of money on that deal, and I'll go into that a little bit later. So we're fishing. We went through a few different spots. Um, Believe it or not, fish were caught on moving baits. My partner only had two fish for the day. So, and the guy I fished with, he had actually fished the college national championship. So, this guy, he wasn't any slouch by any means. So it was a tough day for a lot of people. um, so he actually caught his swimming a jig, believe it or not. And like I said, he only had two fish, so it was a grinder of a day. Um, the tournament, I don't. I wish I knew why MLF chose April 17th to have the opener, because that's the earliest I had ever fished that river. So I didn't, like I said, I figured it'd be, you'd need finesse stuff all the way to have a shot. Um, but we moved around. We stayed in pool 9 most of the day. We had to. We actually had to get out of there. Probably close to 1. I'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, he was catching fish, swimming a jig off of wood. So that was kind of our pattern, if you can even, you know, even call that good enough to even call it a pattern for that day. So we ended up, like I said, running back round 1. We got back to the lock, and there was a barge in there, so we had to wait a little bit. I felt like we spent enough time running and waiting on locks and barges and stuff like that. Killed a little of our fishing time, but it was, like I said, it was a tough day anyway. So we had to wait for a little bit. The barge, the gate to the lock to get that barge out of there was open for a little bit when we got there, but that barge took its sweet time coming through there, and that's one thing you always got to be mindful of when you decide to go through locks on a river, especially on the Mississippi, because there's always barge traffic. You definitely, two things you want to make sure, if the point when you're to the point you're going to be a boater, you definitely want to get the lockmaster's phone numbers. And I also suggest having there's an app called Marine Tracker that I actually have on my phone. I would definitely suggest having those two key things when you have to lock through anytime you're on a river system, especially the Mississippi. But it took its time getting out of there. We finally got out of there, or got into the lock. Obviously, it takes a few minutes for them to close the gate, adjust the water level to meet the water level of the other pool, or the other side of the lock. We got out of there, headed back, in the direction of the launch. We stopped at a few places, couldn't get anything. I switched to a Scorebill Sexy Shad Strike King crankbait and threw it out first. I think it was within the first 5 casts of throwing it. Wham! And I got him. I was working him. He fought like, oh man, like I'm like, what do I got on here? I probably should tighten my drag a little bit, but I'm almost glad I was patient because that fish fought like crazy, and obviously you got treble hooks on that Strike King Sexy Shad Scorebill crankbait, and reeling, working him. Took him a while to get close, and turns out it was a good smallie. So it took a little while to get in. My boater netted him. Turns out that saved my day. I had a 3.5 pound smallie, so it was that definitely helped change the mood a little bit. So try to throw back in there. I stuck with that square bill the rest of the day. Uh, why not? I mean, it was I caught that fish probably I'd say maybe half hour, 45 minutes maybe before we actually had to make the run to the had to make the run back to check in. So we fished around there. We were hoping to pull some more off of that, but nothing doing, nothing doing. So at that point, like I said, we fished for a little bit. Then I got time to run back to the lock, or excuse me, back to check in. Um, so and that was pretty much our day. Um, so we got back to check in. Actually, had my wife with me this weekend, so she got to see me go up on stage and wave fish and everything. That was kind of cool. I was really hoping to have something because I really want her to come and see me weigh in. So that was. I think she enjoyed the experience. It was cool for me to have my wife there. That was that was pretty awesome. So that was pretty much the day. Like I said, it was really cold. Conditions were tough, tough as all get out. So, put it to you this way: I had one fish for three and a half. There were 150 boaters, 150 co-anglers. On the co-angler side, my one fish got me 52nd place, so just barely shy of the upper third of the field. So that was nice. It was a good points day. Um, definitely learned a few things. I definitely learned that on that LaCrosse pool. Well, I mean, this is key anyway, but you really got to have an open mind because that place, like I said earlier, can be bass backwards. I absolutely it threw me for a loop that I caught that big smallie on a square bill crankbait, a moving bait. Granted, I wasn't working it super fast by any means. I was working that crankbait as slow as I could because I knew that those water temps could not be that high. Um, so just something else about the results. Um, that fish I missed earlier in the day. If were a bass, I might have cut a check because I got results pulled up here. 30, they paid down to 30 places. The last place to get a check, 30th, 5 pounds 8 ounces for two fish. So yeah, tough day. A few people still caught them on the co-angler side. It looks like there were 4 people out of 150 guys that had limits. The winner had a limit for 15 pounds 3 ounces. Cut a check for $2,456. So apparently that guy had a partner who knew where they were schooled up a little bit. Because on a day like that, you'd have to you'd have to have a school to be able to pull out five keepers. So 15 pounds is about a 3 pound average. So that was pretty good. Like I said, only 4 guys had their limit. So you can tell how tough of a day it was out there that day. Few takeaways. Obviously, I wish I would have switched my square bill earlier. Like I said, I'm still pretty shocked that moving baits caught anything that day. I figured those fish would just have lockjaw, and just that you'd have to just put the thing right in front of them to get them to bite. So if one type of technique, if you're fishing a bunch of different finesse techniques, and it's just not working, pick up a crankbait, spinnerbait. Jerk bait, especially if you can find some slack water where the current. I mean, that's another thing too. The current that day, uh, just about everywhere we fished, unless we're in a deep backwater, that current was just ripping through that river that day. So I don't know if a jerk bait would have done all that well, but I mean, it's a possibility. Like I said, crankbait, spinnerbait, maybe even a chatterbait if you're fishing some dirtier water. We fished a few times. I checked the water clarity throughout the day. Um, there were a few times where it was around a foot, but on average is about a foot and a half to 2 foot of clarity. So even with that moving water, it was still somewhat clean. Um, but those are a few takeaways, and if they keep having super early tournaments, there'll be something in the back of my mind. Something doesn't help. Had a couple reels that were starting to act up on me. No matter how much I loosened the anti-drag, it just didn't want to cast well. So I got a couple reels I got to look at. Maybe replace at least one of them. So that is the opener for the Great Lakes Division of the BFLs. The next one is on Winneconne. And it's mid-June. So depending on how this weather is, we might be hitting that place. We might be hitting just right. I still have not had a partner that made the run to Bago. If I could get someone that's going to make that run, I would be jacked, because there's none. I'm sure a lot of these tournaments are won out of Bago, because I got some good smallmouth down there. Good smallmouth, clear water. I'm looking forward to it. Even if I get a partner that's running up the Wolf, or Wolf, or even down the Fox, I got a few ideas. I've learned some things. Some of the things had to be knocked over my head, but some things I don't like. But I've learned some things on how to deal and what to do to catch some fish up there. So like I said, I'm feeling good about the upcoming Winneconne tournament. I'm hoping to get another episode up before then. My goal is to really start getting these up on a monthly basis. It's been a little tough, but hopefully we can get that going. So till next time, be safe. Good luck. Catch a lot of big ones, and we'll talk to you next time.